It was just another quiet morning at Maplewood Diner, the kind where the smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air and the hum of chatter was soft enough to blend with the sound of clinking cups. But that particular Tuesday, something extraordinary was about to begin, something that would change one young waitress's life forever. The day started like any other for Claire Thompson, a 27-year-old waitress with tired eyes and a smile that hid a lifetime of struggle. She didn't know that the old woman sitting by the corner window, shivering slightly as she stirred her tea, was about to become the center of a story the whole town would talk about for years to come. If you believe in kindness, compassion, and the power of second chances, then please take a moment to like this video, share it with others, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel, because this story will remind you how one simple act of care can change lives forever. Claire had been working at Maplewood Diner for almost 5 years. Her mornings began before sunrise, with the same routine: tie up her hair, slip into the green uniform, and whisper a small prayer for strength. She wasn't just working for herself. She had a mother at home battling illness, rent overdue, and dreams buried under piles of unpaid bills. Yet every day she showed up with that same gentle smile. Regular customers adored her kindness, her patience, and how she always remembered their favorite breakfast orders. But among them, there was one customer who stood out: the old woman who always came alone. The woman, dressed neatly in an old-fashioned black coat and a little hat with a silver ribbon, arrived every morning at precisely 8 a.m. She always ordered the same thing: a single slice of toast with butter, a small cup of tea, and nothing else. Her hands trembled slightly when she held the cup, and her eyes, though kind, carried a sadness that seemed bottomless. She rarely spoke more than a few words, yet Claire felt drawn to her. Something about the way she sat in silence, gazing out the window, as if waiting for someone who never came, tugged at Claire's heart. One morning, as Claire served her toast, she noticed the woman counting coins from an old purse, tiny, worn-out coins that barely added up to the cost of her meal. The old woman looked embarrassed, whispering an apology that broke Claire's heart. Without thinking twice, Claire smiled and said, "Don't worry about it. It's on the house." The woman's eyes widened in disbelief, and for a second her lips trembled. "Thank you, dear," she whispered, tears gathering in the corners of her eyes. From that moment on, Claire decided she would quietly pay for the woman's breakfast every day, even if it meant earning a few dollars less on her paycheck. Days turned into weeks, and helping the woman became part of Claire's morning ritual. She'd place the toast carefully on a warm plate, cut the butter just right, and make sure the tea was the perfect temperature. She never told anyone about it, not her co-workers, not even her manager. It wasn't charity to her, it was compassion. Something about the old woman's loneliness reminded Claire of her own mother, who used to sit by the window waiting for her father to come home long after he had already left for good. As time went on, Claire began to notice small changes. The old woman started smiling more. She began sharing little stories about how she used to be a teacher, how she once had a husband who loved music, and how she'd lost touch with her only son years ago. Claire listened, always patient, always kind. She made sure the woman never felt like a burden. One day, the woman admitted that her son had stopped visiting after he'd married into a wealthy family. "He said he was too busy," she said softly, "but a mother never stops waiting." Claire held back tears, placing her hand gently over the woman's. "Maybe one day he'll come back," she whispered. That morning, as the woman left, she handed Claire a small note folded neatly in half. "For you, dear. Thank you for being kind when the world forgot how." Inside, there was a small pressed flower, a daisy, faded but beautiful. Claire tucked it into her pocket and carried it every day after that. It reminded her that even small acts of love mattered. Then came the morning. Everything changed. The sky was grey, and a light drizzle tapped against the diner's windows. Claire noticed the woman's usual seat was empty. Minutes turned into hours, but she didn't show up. Worry knotted in Claire's stomach. Maybe she was sick, she thought, or maybe something worse. The next day, still no sign. A week passed. Then two. Claire asked around, but no one knew where the woman lived. The diner felt emptier without her quiet presence, without her soft smile. Claire couldn't shake the feeling that she should have done more. It was a month later when the unimaginable happened. That morning, Claire was refilling coffee cups when a line of black cars pulled up outside the diner. The entire restaurant fell silent as four large men in suits stepped out, followed by a sharply dressed woman carrying a briefcase. They entered the diner with authority, scanning the room until their eyes fell on Claire. She froze, her heart pounding. "Claire Thompson?" the woman asked, her voice calm but commanding. Claire nodded nervously. "We need a moment of your time." Everyone in the diner watched as the group surrounded her booth. The lawyer opened the briefcase and pulled out a document. "We represent the estate of Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore," she said. The name hit Claire like lightning. Eleanor, the old woman she'd helped every morning. "She passed away 2 weeks ago," the lawyer continued. Claire's hands trembled. Tears stung her eyes. "Oh God, I didn't even know," she whispered. But what came next stunned everyone. The lawyer smiled softly and said, "Mrs. Whitmore left something for you." She handed Claire a sealed envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter in familiar, shaky handwriting. "My dearest Claire, if you're reading this, it means I'm finally at peace. For months, you were the only person who treated me like I still mattered. You reminded me of the kindness this world often forgets. What you never knew is that I was never poor. I simply wanted to find someone genuine, someone who cared without expecting anything in return. And I found that in you. Please accept this small token, not as a reward, but as gratitude. You've given me more warmth than all the wealth I once had." The lawyer then placed a document on the table. Eleanor had left Claire a portion of her estate. Not just money, but ownership of a small countryside cafe that Eleanor had once run with her late husband before illness took it away from her. Claire couldn't believe what she was hearing. The lawyer explained that the bodyguards were there to ensure everything was handled respectfully, as the Whitmore family had been a name of great influence for decades. Claire's knees went weak. The room spun. Tears streamed down her face as she realized the old woman she thought she was helping had, in truth, been helping her all along. The lawyer smiled gently and added, "Mrs. Whitmore said you'd know what to do with it. She trusted your heart more than anyone she'd ever met." In the weeks that followed, Claire visited the old cafe in the countryside. It was small, with peeling paint and dusty tables, but it held a warmth that felt like home. She restored it with care, naming it Eleanor's Place in memory of the woman who changed her life. It became a place where no one was ever turned away for not having enough money, where kindness was the only rule, and where Claire made sure every person felt seen and loved. People from all over began visiting the cafe after hearing the story. Journalists wrote articles, neighbors brought flowers, and those who had once dined with Eleanor came to share their memories. Every morning Claire would prepare a single plate of toast, with butter and a cup of tea, setting it by the window, the same way she used to serve Eleanor. Sometimes, when the morning light hit just right, she could almost see her sitting there again, smiling. Claire often thought about that first morning, the trembling hands, the nervous smile, the simple plate of toast, and realized that true kindness never asks who deserves it. It simply gives. She learned that sometimes life tests you not through grand challenges, but through quiet moments where you choose compassion over convenience, and that one choice can change everything. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your friends and family, and subscribe for more real-life stories that remind us of the goodness still left in this world. Before we end, I want to ask you something special. Comment below and tell us, what's the kindest thing someone has ever done for you, or the kindest thing you've done for someone else? Let's fill the comments with love and positivity. Because as Claire and Eleanor's story shows, sometimes a simple act of kindness in a small-town diner can become the spark that changes two lives and reminds the world that humanity still exists.